And thank you very much for joining our first Dine and Discuss with ETM tonight. So before starting, I'd like to give a brief introduction of Energy Tech Meetup. And by the way, my name is Oyanga from ETM, and I'll be a moderator tonight. So Energy Tech Meetup, or ETM, is a community for anyone who's interested in energy and energy-related innovation. And we aim to be a platform where people from various backgrounds come together, exchange ideas, and further create collaborations. And because we believe that energy innovation needs diverse fields of expertise and strong innovation system. And we do that through 4 main things. We organize events, seminars, which mainly focus on networking and community engagement and insights. And here, by insights, we mean Voice of ETM. So we publish this short report of our quarterly events, summarizing what was discussed by the speakers and what questions and points were raised by the community under that topic. And just recently, we published our first our website, so you can read more about us and our previous and future events, and also you can find the Voice of ETM from here. And here's the team. So we have quite an international team. We have 2 co-founders, Amanda and Grace, and ETM Vienna, we have Armin, and ETM Tokyo, we have Kabir, Hiroyoshi-san, and me. And we hopefully will soon have ETM Berlin and etc. So if you're interested in creating Energy Tech Meetup community in your city, please contact us via email or through social media. So please follow us to know more about our future events as well. And next, I'd like to invite Yuko-san from Impact Hub Tokyo, who's collaborating with us tonight, and also many other previous and future events. Yuko-san?
Thank you, Yanga. Hi, I'm Yuko from Impact Hub Tokyo. I'm a community builder at Impact Hub Tokyo, and I would also like to introduce Mami from Impact Hub Tokyo. She's also a community builder. Maybe you can, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
So, Impact Hub Tokyo, I would like to introduce a bit about Impact Hub Tokyo. I think some of you might know from the Impact Hub, other Impact Hub Tokyo in other cities around the world. So we are part of Innovation Lab, Business Incubator, and Co-working Space. And we're a community of social entrepreneurs or like freelancers, various type of people who wants to make impact in the society. They gather and connect and exchange and ideas. So we have been collaborating with Energy Tech Meetup since the beginning of 2019. And because we share the value and the concept of this event, because we as Impact of Tokyo also want to encourage open discussion and co-learning in various fields of innovation, such as in this case, like energy and technology. ちょっと日本語でも紹介したいと思います。日本語の方がいいという方もいると思うので、インパクトアップ東京の三塩優子と申します。よろしくお願いします。もう一人、高橋真美というコミュニティビルダーも参加しています。インパクトハブ東京は、起業家のコミュニティでコワーキングスペースも運営しています。起業家同士が、切磋琢磨しながらお互いの事業とか課題とか悩みについて相談して、そのコミュニティの人とつながりながら、例えば事業に対するアイデアだったりとか、新しい視点が生まれて、変化と成長するっていう、そんなコミュニティとして価値を提供しています。エナジーテックミートアップの皆さんとは、去年の4月から、共催でやっていて、いつもだったら、インパクトハブ東京のイベントスペースとかでこういうイベントをやるんですけど、今回は、 共催している理由としては、なんか私たちもその多様な分野において、そのオープンに議論をしたりとか、共に学ぶ、コーラーニングするっていうコンセプトに共感しているので、エナジーテックのこのミートアップはとても面白いと思って共催させてもらっています。で、一つちょっと質問がありまして、日本語の字幕を今日全部英語のスピーチ、プレゼンテーションになるんですけども、参加者の中で、日本語字幕がどうしても必要という方が何名かちょっと話は前に聞いているんですけども、この中で何人ぐらいいらっしゃるかっていうのを反応いただけるといいと思ったんですけど、皆さんビデオを結構オフにされてる。Okay. I was asking to the Japanese audience if they need Japanese translations, which I am anyway gonna do, but it's not そうなんか一語一句その完璧な翻訳はできないんですけども、ちょっと今日は私が要約した感じ、ポイントでできる限り分かるように翻訳して字幕をつけたいと思います。で、字幕の見方なんですけど、Zoom の今見られている画面の下の多分一番右側ら辺に CC とか字幕って書いてあるところがあると思うんですけど、それをクリックしていただくと、字幕が見れるようになります。はい。I think I'm okay. Thank you. I'll give back to Yanga.
Thank you very much, Yuka-san.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's invite our first speaker tonight, Thomas Carberrier. Can you please share your screen? So Thomas Carberrier is, Executive Board Chairman of Renewable Energy Institute in Tokyo, Industrial Growth Executive of ENA Energy Scandinavia, and Affiliate Professor at Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden. And he serves as member of the board of Vattenfall and on the Swedish Climate Policy Council and as advisor at Gateco in Beijing. Previously, he has held leading positions in environmental NGOs and renewable energy companies, and as Director General of the Swedish Energy Agency. Thomas, please go ahead. Thomas, I think your mic is off. Thomas, can you hear me? I think you're muted. Okay.
Now I'm not muted.
Yes, now it's good.
Now I have something completely different from what I hoped to show you. This was a bit strange. Okay, maybe I should. Zoom keeps telling me it has some problems with my audio, but you can hear me now, right?
Yes, there's no problem.
So what I did want to tell you was to show a diagram of the progress of renewables in recent years, and by doing that, which I still now something is coming back. Yes, indeed. Here we go. if you look at last year compared to the year before, we could see globally that fossil fuel-based electricity generation decreased, and that was for the first time in a year with economic growth. Nuclear increased a little, renewables increased a lot, and total electricity increased. So the question may be, would the current epidemic development and the economic lockdown or social lockdowns that had happened in many countries affect that negatively for renewables? And the answer is no, it will not. And the reason why it will not is that renewables have low marginal cost. And that means that even if demand drops and prices drop, renewables will continue to be producing electricity, and the power plants with fuel costs and higher marginal costs will be the ones who will shut off completely. And that's a very interesting example of how far this development has gone. We can look at the German electricity market, where in February we had a situation where wind power contributed more electricity than all fossil fuels and nuclear taken together. And this is in absolute terms supplied to Germany. If we look at China for the first quarter, when they were affected by the corona spreading in China and electricity demand decreased, almost all the decrease was done by the fossil fueled electricity generation, while wind and solar increased, hydro decreased, and there was a minute increase in nuclear. Similarly, in the US, in the first quarter, when the corona started affecting electricity demand, we saw a dramatic drop in fossil fuel-based electricity generation, a continuing increase in renewables, and a minute change in nuclear. The fossil fuel development in the US is even worse for the coal industry, where the generation dropped by more than 100.
Oh.
Thomas, we can't hear you again.
It's probably because he's outside, he's in the balcony. That's why maybe he has weaker internet connection or something.
Probably. He's not unmuted, but... Thomas, we can't hear you. Thomas, can you try resetting your microphone again? Thomas, since we can't hear you, should we go on to the next speaker and can you try setting your microphone and do the presentation later?
I think, in fact, he's trying to continue with the presentation.
Yes. Should we just stop sharing screen from here, or?
I sent him a message, but he actually...
Yeah, he's not reading.
He didn't... Yeah, he doesn't realize what's going on here.
Yes. Should I stop sharing from here? Okay.
Yeah, I would say, why don't you put one slide saying your microphone seems having an issue taking over the screen, then he will realize that, oh, his presentation is actually over.
Thomas, can you hear us?
Oh, he's back.
Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, we couldn't hear you for quite several minutes.
It was since you were talking about coal in the US, I believe. We kind of stopped hearing you.
Okay.
And
Zoom
can
in.
you, sorry, can you please keep an eye on the messages in case we stop hearing you? We'll let you know there as well.
Okay. Shall I try to repeat in summary then? I was saying that we see a continuous development where fossil fuels decrease and renewables grow. What will be decisive for the future is to what extent the efforts made by governments
Sorry, what is that?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
To what extent the efforts made by governments to restart the economy will be directed towards the new energy technologies, and to what extent it will be directed towards saving old energy companies. And I think that will be different in different parts of the world, but it's quite certain that those countries that put their money in the new energy technologies will be the most successful in the long run. I can't hear you.
Okay.
No, I heard something.
Oh, and to the audience, I forgot to say that if you have any questions, please write in the chat, or please keep a note for yourself so that you can ask questions from speakers after the 3 speakers' presentations. So thank you very much, Thomas, even though we had some technical problem.
Oh.
I hope we'll have a discussion after the presentations so that the audience can ask you more questions. Okay, next, let's invite our second speaker. Sorry. Mitsutaka Tihari-san. from Shizeng Energy, and he's currently responsible for branding and communication at Shizeng Energy Group, and also runs Brand Mediators LLC, a strategic branding boutique since 2019. He's a consultant with a history of working in strategy, branding, marketing, and service design. He has an MBA degree from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business with a concentration in finance, and bachelor degree from Faculty of Policy Management at Keio University. And he loves backcountry snowboarding and surfing. Please start.
Thank you for my brief introduction. I think my introduction makes some people really confused because of my complicated career development. I actually started my career from banking, and now I'm doing kind of branding and marketing. And also I worked on some educations for enterprises. So I'm a kind of bits of everything person. So today, actually, can you guys hear me clearly? Just I'm trying to see all the faces on my display to understand whether I'm speaking right or, oh, okay. I saw some thumbs up. So when I receive a request for this presentation, actually I spent a little bit of time what I should talk because there are lots of things that we can discuss because we are under uncertainty. So any topics, any themes we can discuss for free, and at the end we are not sure about the conclusion. But let me try to summarize what Shizeng Energy is doing today to give you some thoughts and ideas for discussion later. So I have almost 9 minutes, and I will start with brief introduction to Shizeng Energy, followed by pandemic and where we are, and last part is the most important part, renewable energy for post-pandemic communities from a Shizeng Energy perspective. So brief introduction. So Shizeng Energy Group is, we can say it's a renewable energy company, but running a quite unique business model compared to other competitors in Japan, because Shizeng Energy is actually doing business from EPC to the retail electricity sales. So it's a very comprehensive, and it's from upstream to downstream. Actually, the company itself covers most of the businesses relating to the renewable energy in Japan. And the company is currently aiming to power the world with 100% renewable energy. I know it's really challenging, but to achieve our future lifestyle on this beautiful planet, we have to still challenge for 100% renewable energy to sustain our world going forward. Oops. And our purpose of the business is actually, we defined as we take action for the blue planet, because when we achieve 100% renewable energy in this world, we believe that our planet in the future will be also blue, remains blue, meaning beautiful, and still we can make people very moved with a lot of beautiful sceneries. So this is actually our purpose we redefined last year. Until last September, we defined our purpose or company mission is to create a 100% energy world, 100% renewable energy world. But we actually we thought about ourselves. Probably our goal is to achieve a truly beautiful planet, truly beautiful future planet for everyone. And then while we are covering most of the value chains on renewable energy in Japan, we also offer some options for all the people living in Japan, giving some renewable energy driven electricity for households and small and medium enterprises. So we have 3 options. One is SCDView, another one is SC30, SC100. The difference is SC100 is 100% purely supplied by renewable energy. We are purchasing a fossil certificate from the market and supplied a kind of certified renewable energy to our households, but it's actually cost a little bit higher in some cases. So we provide another solution that is 30% renewable energy, 70% is none, but still we can contribute to the world to be renewably powered world. And another option is still some people believe that the cost is higher than the normal electricity. We actually provided SE debut. It's not really purchasing renewable energy, but still you can join the part of the investment to our renewable energy power plant development. So we call it additionality. So our business is to supply renewable energy as well as to fuel renewable energy power plant development in Japan and also beyond Japan to worldwide. That's quite a brief introduction to the Shizen Energy Group. Then the second topic is pandemic and where we are. So for Japanese people, it's time to say, yay, we done. Probably not yet, but the Japanese government lifted state of emergency last week, and oops, sorry. And the question is always like, what is really happened after this pandemic period? So it seems like a lot of people change their working style. Probably not. This is actually the latest study in Japan about whether how many people actually work remotely away from the office. The truth is, nationwide, it's actually only less than around 20% people actually stayed away from the office, and it looks like most 70% people still went to the office. And if we focus on Tokyo, it's actually the percentage is slightly higher for remotely working people. It's in 30%, but still more than 60% people are actually, they went to the office. Oops. So the question is still, is our lifestyle going to change? We believe it will be changed because at least some people realize that we can work remotely. And also another viewpoint is we actually pretty much isolated on the prefectural basis. So I'm living in Tokyo, and the next prefecture is Kanagawa Prefecture. They actually hate us during the pandemic period. They say, please don't come. And I love surfing, but the other surfers in Kanagawa Prefecture saying, hey, please don't come to our prefecture. And we realized that it's possible that we will be totally distributed or separated, even in the same country. And of course, we see a significantly less movement beyond the boundaries, I mean, prefectural boundaries during the state of emergency than usual. Then we have two keywords coming from this pandemic period. One is decentralized or distributed actions. We clearly see there is lots of local leadership and initiatives and also voluntary actions by people living in Japan, but that is actually our free decentralized movement. So we actually realize that there is actually a kind of trend toward decentralization or distributed models going forward. That is one keyword. And another point is, okay, this is actually the impact, just one key slide showing the impact of our pandemic on climate change. This is a report from Nature Climate Change magazine. It's saying there's a 17% decrease of emissions on 7th of April. It's amazing decline. So if we don't move really, actually, it's actually contributing significantly to our climate. But, okay, looks like our environment is coming back. It's recovering. Like, look at, you can see the beautiful trade wind from right-hand side to left-hand side, and also you can see the beautiful flow of westerlies. It was actually winded before the pandemic, significantly winded up to down, but it now seems beautiful. Okay, now we are moving towards some good planet in the future, but we have to remember we are still going towards the very, very bad situations. 70% on a one day, is not really changing the world going forward. This is actually the diagram from IPCC. It's saying still we are quite challenging moment to achieve our goal in the future. And even we can see China air pollution is coming back. So we'll still have moment continues. So what we're doing today. So I talked about one keyword, distributed or decentralized. Another keyword is decarbonizing. That is also important for renewable energy business. So we have a lot of options on the renewable energy, but most of the cases we focus on the wind or solar. And adding one more point about the distributed model is this is actually a photo from Chiba Prefecture last year, September. There's a huge power outbreak, and the people is actually living without power for a while. So combining decarbonization and distributed model, what the Shizen Energy is currently doing is to create more resilient energy supply structure. We call it a minimum grid. So one way is we are trying to secure the electricity from the large scale or large utility scale grid. And on the other hand, we will apply batteries and photovoltaic panels on the houses and also some buildings in the community to supply the power from solar panels. So we merging together to give a power both from renewable natural energy and also from traditional grid to secure resilience of the community going forward. That is actually something we are currently really working on. Then probably I will receive more questions later to clarify what's really in there. So almost 10 minutes actually, 1 minute over. Sorry about that.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you very much, Dihari-san. So let's welcome our third speaker, Christina Lechner. Please share your screen. So Christina Lechner has professional experience as investor, consultant, and entrepreneur in Europe, the US, and Latin America. He worked several years as private equity and growth capital investor for, investor for Lehman Brothers and Warburg Pincus in London, and as investment director at LFPI Group in Vienna. As a strategy consultant at McKinsey & Company, Christian led projects in Austria, Germany, and Eastern Europe, focusing on efficiency, lean transformation, and growth strategies in the energy and finance sector. He holds a Magister in International Business Administration from Vienna University and an MBA from the Wharton School, Philadelphia. Kristen, please start.
Hi. Thanks a lot for the introduction. I will now introduce you to some ideas we have about the energy industry. We from Epsite, we develop artificial intelligence software for the energy industry, specifically to forecast energy consumption and production, and then to optimize the energy flow. Can you see my screen or the presentation, or is it? Do you see the presentation already or not yet?
We can see it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So I think as a start, we wanted to give a quick overview about what was the impact on the energy market, the COVID impact on the energy market. And we see that volatility in the market significantly increased. So we see that over the last couple of months, and specifically when the crisis hit in March and April, the energy consumption showed a significant decline all over the world, whether it's Europe or the US or Asia. And this decline was also accompanied by a decline in energy prices. So this was a big shock for the energy industry, and also for energy companies. Usually energy companies are quite a safe haven in terms of stock prices. But during the COVID crisis, most of the energy stocks significantly went down because of this impact that suddenly consumers consumed less electricity, and also the prices for electricity went significantly down. And if we put that in context, we already saw a significant increase in volatility before this crisis, because the more renewables that come online, specifically the non-controllable renewables like wind power and PV power, the whole generation, electricity generation will be, and the more volatile the prices will be. And this is an opportunity to play with this volatility and to use this volatility to create benefits. We see some significant other trends in the market, and I think as Mitch just mentioned, I mean, these are the major trends like decarbonization and decentralization. So we see high penetration of renewables. We see the prices of battery storage dropping significantly. So the penetration of storage units is increasing. We see the rollout of smart meters is one big trend, which will help actually analyze and use electricity information to make intelligent decisions. And then we see the electric vehicle adoption as one mega trend, which will completely change our electricity consumption in the next couple of years. So I think taking all of this into account, I think that the main insight here is that volatility is increasing and will increase in the future in terms of consumption and also in terms of prices. And that's why artificial intelligence or kind of intelligent software solutions come into play. I think if you use the data and if you learn from the data, it makes it much easier to deal with the volatility. And we at F-Site, we've developed a software to manage these volatilities, and also to optimize the energy flow of households, of industrial sites, of communities, and whole grid areas. And we built that on three main buckets. We start with prediction, so forecasting energy consumption and production on a single meter level, with about 40 machine learning algorithms behind it. And it's a fully automatic system with kind of very accurate results. Based on that, we have an optimization engine, which takes into account these forecasts. It takes into account prices and community setting, and then it will take automatic decisions when to best store electricity, when to best use it, and when to trade it with your neighbors or to trade it with the market. So this is the third layer, which is the trading platform, because we believe that in a decentralized energy market, people will not only buy electricity from the utility or the electricity supplier, but they will exchange electricity among each other and trade with their neighbors and community members. And yeah, maybe. So we have two products which we believe that can deal with this with the energy market of the future. So the first one is this Predict. That's a forecasting system which is specifically designed for a volatile and decentralized environment. So what we do is we learn from the past, from kind of energy profiles and consumption profiles of the past. And then we add weather data, we add live consumption data, and a lot of other inputs to perform very realistic and accurate forecasts of the future production and consumption. And based on a machine learning system, it's easy to cope with completely new environments. So our forecasting system very quickly adjusted to this new COVID-19 environment where consumption significantly dropped. And then it produced accurate forecasting results, even in a world which no one knew kind of what is happening and what will happen in the next couple of weeks or months. So I think this is one of the big advantages of artificial intelligence systems that are constantly learning based on new information and then applying this for the forecasts. We also developed a specific feature for this COVID-19 world. We did a lot of research in terms of effects on different industry classes. Of course, pretty much all of the consumers were affected, and the consumption dropped for all of the consumer segments, but specifically for the commercial and industrial segment, and also for the hotel segment. And we, for example, if we look at the hotel segment here, other forecasting solutions suddenly had a significant forecasting error because they could not cope with such a huge shift in demand over a couple of days. And with our features, we were able to, within 1.5 to 2 days, completely automatically readjust the systems, and then have a very accurate forecast going forward for this COVID-19 time. And then I think on top of this forecasting, we also see this decentralization trend, where people will produce their own electricity, will store their own electricity, and let's say form communities where they trade electricity among each other. And our EnergyEye software is also providing solutions for this. So we have a full-fledged management solution for energy communities. It's rolled out already internationally. One of our biggest pilots is in Israel at Mali Gilboa, where we have over 200 customers, from industrial to households. And PV systems, wind storage systems. And what our system is doing, it is it's learning the consumption profiles. It's building up an internal community market where people can trade their self-generated electricity, and it's generating cost savings for the users. And on top of that, it's increasing the self-sufficiency and the independence from the grid. And we see this as a big trend in the future. So what we do is we look at single sites, we look at communities, and then we also build kind of VPP functionalities where we pretty much aggregate flexibilities of single households, and then place these flexibilities into the market, or maybe sell them to utilities or grid operators. We do these projects, we do live pilots, we do simulations, we also have commercial communities which already run with our software. So that's it from our side. If there are any questions, contact me by email, or please ask questions in the discussion round afterwards.
Thank you very much. So let's get into our panel discussion section. I'm sure that many of you have already have so many questions, and I already see one question in the chat from Mitsa. I think it's from Christian. So do you also leverage the data feed from smart meters or any other data flows?
Yes, our system is based on smart meter data. So we get either 15-minute smart meter data or minute smart meter data. And based on this data, we can pretty much create a live forecast of what's happening and what will happen in the community. And we also build a pricing mechanism for the community. So on top of the meter data, we also get external pricing data of the spot market. We get weather data. We calculate supply and demand of the community. And based on this, our system automatically optimizes the flow and the trading within the community.
Thank you. If you want to ask questions, either you can unmute your microphone or just write in the chat section. There's one more question to Christian. What do you think how blockchain technology works in energy sector, and when does it work?
Yeah, I mean, blockchain is, of course, a big topic in pretty much all sectors, and also in the energy sector. We also spent a significant amount of time looking at different blockchain technologies and thinking about how we can integrate them into our system. What we believe is that at the moment, we believe that the blockchain technology is not strong enough yet to use it commercially in an energy setting or in a community setting. So we decided against it for now. We run our system without the blockchain. We developed kind of our own communication and ledger technologies. But we believe there is an opportunity for the blockchain, and we're constantly reviewing the blockchain technologies. Companies like Power Ledger are using the blockchain to do these peer-to-peer trades. It's one solution, but I would say it's not the only solution. There are several other solutions that don't need blockchain technology to work in that work in the energy industry. So it's an opportunity, but not a must to include in new technology.
Thank you very much. And there's another question for you. Which market in Japan does F-Site support for trading?
We are not yet operating in Japan. So we are looking for partners currently to enter the Japanese market. We are currently in the US, we are in Australia, New Zealand, Europe. So we are looking for partners in Japan. What the markets we usually link to are the energy spot markets. So day ahead and intraday markets. Then we usually link to the reserve markets where you kind of buy and sell flexibility. And then we build up our own community trading market where customers can trade among each others. But usually we link to all available spot markets and then also to the reserve and flexibility market that's usually run by the grid operators.
Yeah, actually, I would like to contact you after this meeting because our business model we are aiming at the moment is really close to what you showed on the slide. Distributed model focusing on communities. So I would like to connect to our digital team to find out whether we can collaborate.
That would be great. We're definitely interested. Yeah.
Thank you, Mitz and Christian. Next, there's a question for Thomas. When China shows a way turning back to the pre-pandemic level, how do you see the world is going forward in terms of fossil fuels usage for electricity?
Well, I think when electricity demand increases again, they will use more of the installed fossil fuel capacity to produce electricity as well. It seems as if China is now going for an economic recovery program that may become quite energy intensive again, which will increase their fossil fuel use. But when it comes to investment in new generating technology, that will, to a large extent, and maybe also in China to a dominating extent, the investments in renewable electricity generating technologies. And that will create the market for Christian and for others in the longer run. But I think when we discuss these business models of Christian and Mitz, the important thing is that they become extremely relevant when we have a large penetration, a large market share for renewables, especially solar and wind. And we see that on a national level in some European countries, for example, where this kind of flexibility and immediate response and even machine learning to manage the electricity system becomes something with great economic value. And you may see it, as Mitz said, in decentralized community energy systems that intend to become self-sufficient and less dependent on the national markets. But in Japan and China, we still have such a dominating market share of fossil fueled electricity generation that the large...
Thomas, we can't hear you again. Thomas? Can you say something? We couldn't hear you again.
No, I know. Problem that I've not had with soup anywhere, anytime before.
Okay.
How far did you hear me?
Just last few seconds, I think.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So next, there's also another question for Thomas. From early part of your slide, did you show that wind power generation or consumption has increased in this period specifically, or this is the general trend? Oh. You are muted.
You can unmute him. I can wait. I'm gonna try.
Okay.
It's a general trend, but it has been accelerated by the corona crisis because prices and demand have fallen, reducing the use of fossil-fueled electricity generation, while renewables have low marginal cost and will always continue to be operating out competing fuel-based electricity generation. And when new capacity is being built, it will be renewables because renewables provide cheaper electricity than the fuel-based electricity generating technologies that we have.
Thank you. So next question is for Christian. Using your previous experiences in Latin America, how do you consider is Latin America prepared to adapt such a system?
Ooh, I think that's, I would say that's a tough question. I think the Latin America, I would say, is not yet one of the forerunners in adapting these decentralized system. We see a lot of activity in the US, specifically in California. We see a lot of activity in Australia and New Zealand. And now also in the European Union with new legislation that came up about a year ago, which is favoring this decentralization and community trend. So we believe there is a big opportunity in Latin America, but pretty much all over the world, it's still in its infancy. So people start now thinking about it. Prices are getting attractive in terms of PV installations and storage installations. So that we believe that towards the end of the year or starting next year, this trend will increase significantly also in Latin America. We haven't started projects there yet, but we are constantly looking at opportunities, and we see also a big potential there. I mean, one of the drivers is also countries which have an unstable grid environment. So if there are places in the world which have an unstable grid environment, then such a community solution would even make more sense.
Thank you. So there's a question for Mitsa. What kind of barriers are there for mini grid in Japan? Regulatory barriers or social acceptance, etc.
Okay, I would say there's no significant barrier to promote mini grid in Japan. Rather, we are facing more around resource challenges, like we need to have more partners or friends or people who can agree with our business model and our vision going forward. Our vision is always moving towards a blue planet in the future. So to achieve that, we need to partner with a lot of people, companies, nationwide Japan, and also beyond Japan as well, to share our thoughts and perspectives to work together to develop this mini grid. So yeah, actually, probably in summary, communication is a kind of primary challenge for us. And second, if I add one more thing, is one more thing that could be a battery. when we generate the power, we need some place to store the power. That is, of course, battery. Battery technology is now more available for the market, but still battery price is higher, and also it's going to be a little bit challenge for the small medium enterprises to install the battery. So that is another aspect, as another technological perspective, we have to resolve in the short-term horizon.
Thank you very much. So next we have a question for Christian. As for the forecast service, is being used in a small-sized community a contributing factor to its high predictability? I'm assuming the larger the area to cover, the more shaky prediction can get.
Yeah, I think it's, if I understand the question correctly, I would say that in general, the larger the area, the larger the group of customers we are forecasting, the better the forecast will be. We do that also on single household levels. We do that on community level, but we also forecast entire portfolios of utilities. For example, we have a couple of clients where we do the whole country portfolio. And if we need to forecast a single meter, like a single industrial company, it's more difficult than forecasting a group of customers or an entire grid area, because then you really need to go into a very specific operational items of an industrial company to provide a good forecast. But our system can pretty much do it from single site to entire grid area. It works very well on all these implications.
But Christian, is that not your main selling point, that with the small, difficult area, the value of your product is much higher than for the large system where predictions are so simple that even normal intelligence can manage it?
Yeah, exactly. So I think on a single site, this is where our advantage comes out even stronger. But we believe that even on a larger scale, we will or our system will need individual forecasts in the future, more locally local forecasts, because currently the aggregate forecasts of utilities and energy providers, they will not be enough in the future to have a stabilized grid, because the more renewables, the more batteries, the more electric vehicles that come into play, the more important it will be to actually forecast every single individual and see in which areas will we see a problem coming up in the grid. So I think this bottom-up forecasting and the bottom-up understanding of electricity consumption and production will in general be a huge topic in the next couple of years.
Thank you. So since we have limited amount of time, there are 3 unanswered questions in the chat, and we will stop here. Oh, one more. Okay.
Take mine first, because I have to leave.
Okay. So there's a question from all the speakers. How do you think this pandemic will affect all oil companies? Do you think the oil price drops will push them to investing more in renewables? So maybe we can start from Thomas.
I think we will see a continued investment in renewables, and if governments are aiming at the future beneficial alternatives when they are investing to reinvigorate the economies after this restriction, close down, lockdown period, it will result in the development being much faster than we thought half a year ago.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Thomas. Nils and Christian, do you want to add on this question?
No, for me, no comment to the oil price. I'm not an expert there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, me neither. It's really hard to say. So yeah, actually, I attended to the one meeting with oil experts 2 weeks ago about oil pricing plunge in the market, and my feeling is there is no answer about their attitude towards investment in renewables. Yeah, that's it. So still, I'm not really not clear about their behaviors going forward.
Okay. So there's a question from Christian. How is overproduction dealt with for mini-grids? For example, if battery capacity is insufficient, can sources be cut off?
Yeah, no, usually if you have overproduction, you try to store it in your batteries. This is one opportunity. The other opportunity is if individual houses have overproduction, our system adjusts the price kind of to make an opportunity for other households to buy from these households with overproduction. So there's an internal shift within the community of this overproduction. And if there's still oversupply within the community, there's a third option then to trade it with the market. So there is a trading within the community, and then pretty much all of the microgrids or the communities we look at are also have one connection to the grid where they can trade oversupply, or where they can get additional electricity if there's undersupply in the community.
Thank you. So, wait a minute.
Yeah, it looks like 2 more questions to me.
Yes.
Okay.
So first one, when developing big-scale projects in Japan, you need to extensively work with local residents and authorities. How extensive is this applied when developing off-the-grid projects?
Interesting. Anna-san, you know quite well about the market itself. Yes, we need to take quite extensive communication when we work on a utility scale project. That's totally I agree. And for mini grid businesses, that's actually less than a utility scale business, because we will focus more on small local communities. So we can start talking to our few key stakeholders in the community to start the business in a quite small scale, and bring more partners after we develop one small grid. So I would say the simple answer is, I think it's much easier for us to work on a mini grid project in Japan. And the second question is from Risa-san. That's very good question. Very good question. It's actually it's really hard to simply answer to your question, and it looks like you understand the current policy in Japan quite well. And what I can say is there's a lot of subsidies around the renewable businesses. So even for utility scale development, and also there are small and medium-sized projects on the municipality levels. Then we have lots of subsidy options available for renewable development, but it really depends on the leadership at the community level or prefectural level. Rather, probably sometimes it's national government level. In any cases, subsidy is really important, because there's a lot of local municipalities need a fund for renewable energy plant development. And of course, we Shizen Energy is looking at the subsidy opportunities when we have to develop the power plants in the local municipality levels. We actually quite open our eyes on many open our eyes on funding options as many as possible. And also we are actually quite eagerly working on how we can communicate with those investors or fundraisers and so on. So that's probably is a bit unclear answer, but I hope I address your question somehow.
Thank you. Okay, let's take the last question. So it's to the both speakers. Due to the COVID situation, are there any clear-cut advantages that business and government have? I think Kristen mentioned there's significant increase in volatility, which would continue to increase. How can one take advantage of this?
Yeah, I think it's volatility in our mind is always a challenge, but also an opportunity. And we believe that taking advantage of volatility means doing energy arbitrage as a household, but also as a community. And it's hard to do it on your own. It's easier if you have an automatic software behind it. And that's why I think a software that helps you steer your energy consumption in a way that you consume when prices are low and that you kind of feed in when prices are high, could be kind of a good opportunity to benefit from higher volatility in the market. And therefore you need to have some flexibility, like batteries. Prices are getting reasonable and attractive now, also for home storage batteries. And secondly, I think you need to have some kind of flexibility within your group, so you can share with your community, and you don't constantly need to buy electricity from the market or sell to the market. So I think there is an opportunity. And due to the developments of more renewables and more electric vehicles, this volatility and the opportunity will even increase.
Thank you. Mitz, do you want to add something?
Yeah, nothing added from my side. It's actually perfect answer. And but still, I think the Japanese market is a little bit challenging in terms of finding good suppliers. From my point of view, actually, there are lots of good companies outside Japan who have more reasonable technologies and reasonable product and services. But because of the regulations and also legislation in Japan, it's really harder for foreign companies to do the business here. So that is actually something something I would expect for government to bring more competition in the market to promote our renewable energy development further going forward. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, we went little over time, so let's finish our event here. And before we close, I'd like to share our next event. Sorry. Okay. So in June 24th, we have our next event, Energy Startup Pitch Night, collaborating with Tokyo Tech Startup Community. So if you have any interesting energy startup idea or an investor who's looking for interesting ideas, please join us. And in the end, please give us your feedback so that we can improve our event and community for the next time. And thank you very much, everyone, for the 3 great speakers for sharing such insightful presentations, and also for the attendees for making our discussion very fruitful and interesting. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.